Just kind of as way of background, this is an example of an area that the school has worked in for a long time. Our research in this area started back with the thin film partnership that NREL managed for quite some time. That's now sort of moved on to the Solar America initiative. We've worked on a lot of different things in this field, and I just want to point out a few. One of them is that one of our professors in the engineering department, Bob Key, did a ton of work for First Solar on modeling of deposition injectors, basically for vapor transport. And this was very important to them in the initial stages of setting up their process. It's like a big deal. Another thing is that we have faculty who did, one of these has to be, no. We have faculty who did quite a bit of work on what I would call transient behavior. These are things like copper diffusion in cadmium solar cells, and the fact that the copper diffusion is electro-affected. And so if the cell is open circuit or short circuit, the rate at which copper diffuses, where it ends up, is different. And things like long-lived transients that you see in the response of the cell. And when I'm talking about long-lived, I'm talking about experiments where the student who was working on it had to actually cool the cell down in a huge styrofoam container so that it could sit overnight at one temperature so that you could watch the decay and then build an Arrhenius plot up of these very long decays and extract energies. And the reason these things are important is because people are starting to see sort of practical transient behaviors that may be connected to these. So the person on our campus who does a lot of work in this area is actually Joe Beach, who's sitting over there. And Joe's going to be talking a little bit more about this in some of the proposals at the CRISP meeting. But Joe tells me that if you put a cadmium solar cell on your roof and let it run all day, by the end of the day it doesn't work as well. And if you leave it overnight, the next morning it works just about as good as it did the next day. Very long-lived transient behaviors that are probably connected to some of the things that were studied here.